Boom, dizzle, I kizzle.
We're live.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey. Pulling the kids up on the camera now. Gotta keep an eye on them, man. 10 times out of 10, somebody's gonna find their way downstairs. So it is what it is. But hey, y'all, what's going on? Oh, we got Sasha. Oh,
What? You just stopped mid thought. What's the problem?
yeah. Um,
All
I'm
right,
just
so
my bad.
we are going live today, as you saw in the thumbnail, to talk about the First Comes Marriage podcast. This is kind of like a preview. I expect the format will evolve and morph, and whatever. But come on, babe, you can't have the speaker up.
I didn't mean to.
Good thing this is the Richards Reveal channel, which is a little more casual. So we've been wanting
Versus
to do.
what? Your solar channel?
I didn't say versus, so
I mean, it's a lot more casual. I'm thinking compared to.
I feel like when we start the First Comes Marriage podcast, it won't be as casual.
Maybe
Possibility.
Not. Yeah, we'll see.
So as we said on our last live stream, we've been wanting to do this video podcast or podcast for a while called First Comes Marriage. Basically where I feel like we have something to add to the marriage space. In terms of being, I don't want to say authentic because I feel like people may be authentic. I don't know.
Yeah, like there are definitely people who are authentic, but there are people who may not be or ain't so much. And authentic in like, I feel like not being rehearsed or feeling the need to, be very careful about what they say, and you know what I mean. It just, I feel like there are a lot of people. Hey, what's up, everyone? Shaw, MJ. I already talked to you, Sasha. Well, I said hey to Sasha. I feel like I'm missing someone, but I just feel like there are often times when like we're consuming marriage content, the conversations feel like constricted a little bit. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes people aren't as easily capable of just delving into the nitty gritty of just the realities of marriage. You know what I mean? And all the topics that encompass marriage and married life.
Also, I don't think we consume a whole lot of marriage content, so
not anymore.
I mean, we tried to find stuff maybe a few years back. It wasn't a whole lot. We kind of rocked with a bit with like Kev on stage and his wife.
Yeah, Melissa, and they're cool. Belief and Yvette, and it's like, and I like them too. I'm also thinking of like more like when we were like consuming information like to help our marriage, like marriage
today.
Yeah, marriage. Focus on the family. Marriage today. You know what I mean? Like those. Well, they just happen to be faith based. Podcasts that are specifically like for marriage. I mean, and they were helpful. You know what I mean? But they also came from a different perspective too. Like us being African American, like our culture and whatnot is different.
I'm Black. I ain't African American. I am an American of African descent. But African American is a real thing, and I'm not that. I guess I'm detached from that. I feel like an African who comes to America is an African American. You know what I mean? African who is born here.
African American, but I know that's a bit much.
That is a bit much.
But I feel like, but we are African descent. We are of African descent, so we are African, and we are American. So I feel like
I struggle with that.
African American.
Anyway, I'm Black. I'm blackity black.
That's my joint too.
So back to this idea of authenticity. I feel like there's also a thing in which we are not saying that other people are not authentic, but we are authentically ourselves. We don't necessarily seek to, like Del was saying, hide and posture and put on a nice face and all of that jazz. One thing I do like about Belief and his wife, more so Belief, I think his wife is a little guarded.
Yeah.
Their podcast is called How Married Are You? Is they just keep it a buck, you know what I mean? And he's not one of these soft pushover kind of husbands. He shares his opinions. He disagrees when he disagrees. You know what I mean? He uses wisdom. So I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. It's like, again, being who you authentically are. That's just always been important.
MGC, I'm black. Another thing is that, we are believers. We are
Yeah.
Christians. We follow Jesus as well as we can in this human form because, we suck as humans. And even in that, we're authentic. You know what I mean? It's like we're not trying to put on anything about our faith or how some other people can come off and all that jazz. But that's a
Yeah.
whole nother
I
situation.
feel like we're balanced. Like we're not super uber spiritual. In our outward showing of us being believers. Like I feel like I love saying like we're just regular. We're believers and we carry the standard, as detailed and outlined in the Word of God and whatnot. Like we are authentically, in our faith when we walk it out, but we're also just regular. You know what I mean? We don't feel the need to put on from a very spiritual place.
Churchy place.
Yeah, from a very churchy place. Yeah.
Don't even say your catchphrase. Just keep that
Keep
to
to
yourself
myself.
because that's
Okay.
that's wilding. You be wilding.
Yeah, I want to say that.
So about us, just a quick brief thing. We've been married
Yeah.
for how long?
I was waiting for you to do the math.
I don't. We've been married. I mean, I know the dates and stuff, but it's like
Yeah,
I went to
doing the
public
math.
school. The math is a struggle.
Going on 17.
Going on 17.
Yeah.
Okay, don't say when our anniversary is. People need to mind their business.
True, but
We've been married since 2005. So we've been in the game for a little bit. I was 22, Dell was 25. So we've been married quite some time.
Yeah.
We are also, we were avid consumers of, like Dell was saying earlier, like marriage literature. We were trying to make sure that we were our best version of ourselves, even sucking at that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we consumed a lot of podcasts. We have a lot of books and things on marriage.
Yeah.
We're both like seekers of knowledge. That was probably something that came up when we were like kind of friendly friends. We kind of like were into, she don't, I try and give me a hard time for the date, but she don't remember details. You know what I mean? I can't math, but it's okay. I'm just giving you a hard time. And then there's like we said, there's the authenticity. One thing you guys do need to know about me is I'm open, but I'm not forward. Dell is very forward and I'm very like forward and open. She'll just put it all out there. Yeah. And y'all pray for us because we don't need her saying stuff she should not be saying. As that God would give us wisdom.
I mean, I just feel like, what's wrong? Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm decent. I can have a filter. I'm not messy, as I had to post just yesterday. I'm not messy, but I feel like there's nothing wrong with just saying what needs to be said. Saying, what I mean? Like, because we all feel it. We all be thinking it, in some way, shape, or form. I feel like decency is good, but, I feel like sometimes it can be oppressive, or limiting, or, kind of can bind you. And it's just like, man, I don't got time for that. I want to be free. You know what I mean? Because we all are living this human experience, so there's nothing new under the sun.
And I think ultimately, we just try to love each other well. We suck in it sometimes. We have definitely been married for many years, and it's been like a process of growth and maturation and so on and so forth. But I think even in those early years, we still desired to love each other well. We may have had some hard times kind of executing it because of our preferences and things like that. But that's ultimately, I believe, what we want to bring to the space of having conversations about marriage issues and our marriage, mostly like our experiences, our observations, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, and how to thrive, in marriage, despite, our mistakes and despite our failures, and how to have that stick to itness, despite all the other things that could, pull you apart. But, like one of my concerns, and I think one of the reasons why it's taking us so long, at least from my side, in launching, this like consistently, is because I feel like the market is saturated. You know what I mean? Like the market is saturated. Like everybody and their mama, everybody and their daddy, they are talking about, marriage and married life and, all the different things that is married life. And just like what do we have to add, to what everybody is already doing, and I had to, remind myself, just like, business, like everyone is there, like this, the market can be saturated no matter what the industry is. And I had to remind myself that like our fingerprint is unique, like our perspective and the way in which we feel about things, and how we discuss things, it's a little different because we are uniquely us. um, and there's room for that, there's space for that. I feel that way in the business world. So I was like, I had to transition that over to this, because in the business world, there's everybody can eat, you know what I mean, no matter whether it's t-shirts, which is something I want to get into, to business consulting and web designing, which are all things that I'm a part of, solar, like whatever the industry is, like there's room for you. You know what I mean? Because you are authentically you, and you have something peculiar and different to add. So I have to be mindful of that, and I think we'll be able to move forward and launch. Because we're different. We're different.
So something is interesting, just a little bit of a nuanced thing. I remember Ron and Risha, who are like one of
I
our
remember them.
favorite
Yeah.
people, just in terms of their personality. They were fellow YouTubers. They had a channel called Six Howards. Family vlogging is tough, so we
Yeah.
all kind of
But we
fell
got to get
off.
back into that too, because that's something I don't want to do.
And I think she said, if she happens to catch this, what up, no hatred, but she was like, "We are not couple goals," and I was like, I don't mind that banner, that moniker, because I feel like we're authentically trying to love each other well. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't count that as a light thing. So if it's like people look at us and see that there are characteristics, because we are like authentic and transparent, it's not like we're fronting.
Because,
you know what I mean?
because we're honest. I guess couple goals, I think oftentimes is just like, it can, like, people can say it not really knowing and understanding like all of the work that goes into being what you see.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I think it can be like this very empty and this very surface, declaration, about a couple. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we kind of like shy away from that, but yeah, just hearing like couple goals, I feel like it's also like, I'm tired of hearing that.
Like all encompassing couples goals, not like you saw them out and they were fly, or the dude bought the chick a car, or they had a nice dinner, or they hugged up in the nice fancy portrait photos and all that jazz. Those things that, like, I feel like authentically, and what we strive for in this marriage, most people, if they want to, they could strive for or aspire to as well. I think that is certainly possible. So that's kind of where I take it when I hear it.
I see it. I see.
Just like admiring someone. It's okay to admire another couple and how they do things, how they parent, how they love each other, how they treat each other, how they are around each other. I think about the kid's doctor, who was saying, yeah, like, I think she said something like, "Y'all actually seem like y'all like each other." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she's made quite a few comments when I take the kids to their individual wellness checkups, and I literally do light up, whenever she asks, like, "So how's Ivan doing?" Like, there's something about me that literally lights up, when I get the opportunity to keep her abreast of how he's doing and what he's up to, and joking around about how he's always fine, he's always okay. And that was one of her comments too, and it's like, yeah, like I do like you, um, one thing I would like is to stay small though.
I was just going to the celebrity aspect of things.
I want to stay small. I spend a lot of time in like YouTube, Instagram reels, and lately like Facebook reels, and the people in the comments are just freaking insufferable. And I don't have the capacity for that. I don't have the tolerance for, just the internet idiots basically, and the trolls, and the I just get so flustered. Like as soon as I see comments going downhill, I'll be like, well, let me get out of that, because my time in it is to have fun and to enjoy and to be awed and wild. And then you get, and I mean, there's just, I don't want to be big. I don't want to get big. I don't want to become known. I don't want to be viral. I don't want none of that. None of that. I like my people, like my community of people, and sharing according to like our community. And that's it. That's it. Yeah. Well,
Let me put that up on the screen. Put that up on the screen real quick. Listen, I dig it. You know what I mean? Y'all,
And y'all, you know, and they really,
some
y'all really
heathen
are.
activity.
I feel like y'all are a couple goals, you know, like just like how we were talking, you know, the other day about, you know, the conversation. Because I know, I don't want to get into the conversation, but basically, yes, you know,
It's like, man,
there are differences, and you know,
happy and healthy, and not everything can be happy and healthy. You know what I mean, as it relates to your marriage, because we are believers. We believe in God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and all of that jazz. So we do believe that there are certain principles that God, the creator of all of this, which is what we believe, laid out for us to follow. And I feel like those principles apply to across a variety of people who are exhibiting and showing those things. So it's just like, it kind of is what it is. It's like, man, you're happy, you're healthy, you feel loved, you feel well loved, taken care of. There could be some preferences and things that we have a difference on, like cussing around our kids. But ultimately, are you walking through this life looking to grow with your partner and love them well? You know what I mean? That's really the goal. And people can have that, even if they don't follow God. They can look to us and pull things from us and apply it to their marriage and hopefully thrive, because we do it. You know, everybody we listen to ain't necessarily trumpeting for Jesus and all of that jazz. And we ain't out here like waving the flag and all that. Like, we try to be regular, you know, show our love and kindness to people, love people well. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. And it's all good.
It's like living the life, like living it, not just talking about it. You know,
I don't mind the notoriety, to be honest.
Why? Especially
It's like,
like being an introvert.
I don't mind it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I aspire to it, but
But how can you mind? How can you not mind it being?
Because I ultimately want people to be impacted and affected by the things that we share and how we demonstrate. Like, just like with Belief in Fatherhood, who's the guy who's also in the How Married Are You channel. You know, he started this thing to show people what fatherhood is really like. And they've kind of like, I can't say that they veered away, but it's a more like
more comprehensive,
polished, comprehensive, you know, YouTube success driven, you know, production that he has going on over there. But at first it was about showing like the diapers and, you know, the poop and, you know what I mean, the frustration and all that jazz. I think it's important to see that. I think representation matters. Representation matters in this space, and diversity of thought and opinions and expression matters as well. So that's just how I feel about it. And if that draws some unwanted attention by people, don't get me wrong, it could suck. You know what I mean? But
I don't know where that was.
At the end of the day, I'm not necessarily impacted by as much by the negative comments and all that jazz. One thing we do want to institute is this idea of like when you come to kind of partake with us, treat us like friends. You know what I mean? And if you can't talk to us how you would talk to your friends, or if you talk to your friends crazy, then this may not be the space for you. So it's nothing that a few moderators and there's an option to hold all comments, which we have no desire to hold like dissenting point of views and stuff like that. But I don't want the wild, reckless energy. That energy is not welcome. You know what I mean? And it'll frustrate my wife more than it'll frustrate me. But you know what I mean? It's just it's not a good look. I'm not here for that. And people can have a difference of opinion. I remember Melissa, Kevin on Stage's wife from the Love Hour podcast. She was just on one day, and she was just like, "Y'all don't be in these comments acting crazy." I felt like it felt to me that it was a little like adversarial, but I still got the point that she was making. But I feel like some people, not to point the finger at her, but some people can't take a dissenting point of view. And they feel attacked in everything that criticizes or critiques their particular behavior. So ultimately, the standard will be like, you're here among friends, and talk to us like you would talk to a friend. If you can't do that, you may find yourself shadow banned, aka hidden. So
blocked.
I don't even think you could block people. I think you could just hide them.
Really?
Yeah, so they think they out here living their best life, commenting all sorts of crazy stuff, but nobody sees it.
True. So, question:
Okay.
Is marriage hard? Is marriage hard? I saw this today. Actually, there's a I don't remember who it was, but in my YouTube feed, it was a podcast about or video about marriage is hard. No, it was a declaration that marriage is hard, and I was just like, is it though? Is marriage hard? Because I don't typically like subscribe to that.
Okay, I'll answer now.
Okay.
So my thing is, I think we've disagreed about this for a while. I think that marriage is work. I don't necessarily agree that marriage is hard work, but you don't feel like marriage is hard at all. I think that there's some degree of difficulty to marriage, but I think it's just something you have to work at. That's my take.
I like to separate like marriage from like
People's marriage. I don't know. I don't know where you.
I mean, because I feel like marriage is pure, marriage is holy. You know what I mean? Marriage is like it's this entity that just is what it is, you know. And I feel like it's us, it's the people, it's our, you know, how we as individuals, what we bring to this thing that is marriage. I feel like, you know, it's not like marriage isn't necessarily hard. What's difficult is learning how to become one. You know, it's learning how, you know, the process of oneness. It's the journey of oneness. It's all of the mess, you know, of being in the trenches when it's, you know, trying to get to know each other, understanding each other. You know what I mean? How we get down, how we, you know what I mean? Like that, those are the things that's hard.
I feel like that's just nitpicking. Like it's like, that's
I
like
feel like
saying.
there has to be I feel like there should be a separation of like what the entity is, if I can use
So
that
let
term.
me inject this, because there's this, if the idea that I feel like you're getting at, let's
Dominique.
say a situation where somebody says, I don't want to get married because marriage is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're contrary to, like, no, marriage is not hard. It's
you right,
you and them.
Right, you and the person that you would, you know, connect with, like that's going to be the, you know, struggle, at least initially, until you guys choose to, you know, put forth the effort to work on how to thrive as a couple. Like marriage is cool, marriage is great, marriage is beautiful, you know what I mean? The teamwork and the collaboration and the, you know, family and the building and all of those things, like that's a beautiful thing. And I feel like it's set apart from the mess that we bring into it.
Sorry about that. Said you was on Facebook waiting.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, we don't. This is our first time using it with in tandem with Facebook. So maybe StreamYard. Maybe StreamYard didn't share the thing to Facebook. So we'll get it together.
Okay, so what do I do?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I'll try to work on that.
Hey, we're glad you're here too. Oh, it's just different. It didn't used to pop up in that little small corner like that. Where compared to Sasha's joint, which is like all across the thing. That's interesting. Because it's like this idea. Think about this idea of like, is life hard?
Is life hard?
My wife can't multitask.
Yeah. So
we just gotta wait till she's done with whatever she's doing, which is not important in the moment.
It is. I feel like Ebony, she put a question mark up, like,
what?
Where y'all at?
I don't understand.
On my post when I was like, hey, we want to do it on here. She's like,
Oh, okay, I got you. Sorry. Sorry.
Okay, so maybe I need to am I able to get the link?
I don't know. I have
Can you send me the link?
Give us un momento, por favor. Let me see what we have here.
All right now.
Hey, you know what I mean? I took 2 years of Spanish.
Did you?
That's all I know. Oh, okay. This is Ebony. Ebony found it. Okay, cool.
Oh, okay. Hey, Eb.
There you go. Let's see here.
Was it safe to say that my facial expressions was pretty much on point with like
menu, invite guests, we are live, enter studio. Let's see if I can figure out how to share this thing. All I see is invite. That's the only thing that I see. I don't see a way to share the actual. If anybody's familiar with StreamYard, you know what I mean? Dang, geez, I got a whole bunch of hair just came out of my beard.
Mm-hmm.
From trimming it up. I'll mess with my beard a lot. All right, let's get back to it.
Okay. I'm just trying to get the link.
Invites. That's not it. I know that's not going to be it. Let me see. I mean, if I mess this up, y'all, I'm sorry because Dell will not let it go. Yeah, that just doesn't do it. That's not it. So you trying to share the stream, or you trying to see what the Facebook stuff is doing?
Yeah, I thought I was going to stream both across both of the platforms. Both.
Yeah.
Isn't that what?
Yeah, it could. It could be that. I ain't talking about language. What you talking about, MJ? But you got to let this go. This
okay.
is.
Go ahead. Well, I feel like you can talk.
This is us. It's not just me. I mean, you can't keep doing that. You got to let it go.
Okay.
Come on, let's get back to talking.
All right. All right.
My question to you. My question to you is: do you feel like life is hard?
It's like there's an automatic, yeah, life is hard, but you know, I'm trying to be more thoughtful about it. Like, yes, like life is hard because of the things that, you know, as we say, life throws at you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like death. Death is.
Why can't marriage be hard?
That's the worst. I guess because like when you're like life is not necessarily, I mean, life is a choice, but you know, I feel like life isn't necessarily a choice. Like you're here whether you wanted to be here or not. Fair and enough. You have no choice but to, you do have a choice. You should choose to make the best of it and to thrive despite all of the things that come, you know, with life. But I think also it's your perspective, because at the same time, again, my foundation is being a believer. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to be oppressed, you know, by everything that is the world. You know what I mean? Because, you know, we are not of the world, you know, as believers. So it's like we have like a blueprint of how to live this thing called life and how to thrive despite the things that are going to come, despite, you know, all the things that life is going to throw at us. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to look at it as being hard per se versus, you know, life is, it can have its challenging moments, but are we going to focus on the things that are challenging? Are we going to focus on the trash that is life? Or are we going to focus on how to thrive, you know, joy, you know, relationship, and, you know, all of those things. So
that's why I feel like marriage is work. That's my take.
I would agree with that. I would definitely say marriage is work. Is it hard work? It depends on how damaged you are as an individual. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
I mean, you know, because there are people who, you know, are going to have to work a lot harder. You know what I mean? At being capable of facilitating a healthy marriage with their spouse. And there are people who are, you know what I mean? It's just a matter of, like, for instance, well, I don't want to use us as an example because I feel like you spent the majority of the time feeling like you were straight, and I was the one with all the problems because, you know, you had a 2-parent household. I didn't have a 2-parent household. I was with a single mom, and I was abandoned by my biological father. And I
ain't
had
say none of that, y'all, by the way. I did not preface any marriage conversation with that kind of stuff. Right. We just talked about that recently in a video. Actually, it's on this channel. We had like a casual conversation about deficiencies versus differences. So that I wasn't in these streets like that, just thugging. I mean, I'm a thug, but I wasn't thugging like that.
I feel like there was a long season where I was putting forth the effort and being intentional with, like, healing from, you know, my past, healing from traumas and things like that, and wanting to become more whole, more healed and whole and set free, so that I could, you know, again, thrive as a woman, as an individual, as a woman in Christ, and all of these things, so that I can be a good wife also, and eventually so that I could be a good mom. And Ivan over here, he was just chilling. Like, I'm straight. I don't got nothing I need to work on that's significant. Versus like when I began like listening more and more to his upbringing and so on and so forth, I was like, you were traumatized too as a kid. Like, yeah, you had 2-parent household, but
I guess what I would speak to in that situation is the ease by which I was annoyed versus the ease by which she was annoyed. And I feel like that's a dynamic that exists often in marriages. At least I would say people of my ilk. Like, some of these new marriages, these dudes, because they were kind of like ways different. They're a little more talkative. They're a little more chatty. They're a little more in their feelings and emo. And I can't really. I feel like most guys, for the most part, we're like we don't want conflict. We want things to be smooth. We want things to be easy. Like, okay, she didn't do what she said she would do. She didn't whatever. You know what I mean? It's like we typically let that stuff kind of linger, and we don't bring it up because we don't want the argument. So that's kind of like where I gauged it from. It's like I don't have no problems with you. You got all the beef with me.
that is
Like
true.
why you got all this beef with me, fam? Like what is going
Because
on?
I always had a problem with like I'm working on being better as a person, and you're chilling, and then you're chilling in who and how you are, and who and how you are right now. Like you ain't perfect. You are not perfection. Like you need to get yourself together too.
Okay.
And which eventually you came around to that. Sorry, crying.
What do you think about the so how do you pronounce what you just said? Q and Dora?
Yeah.
Quadara? Kadara could be. Is that how you pronounce it? Is it Kadara or is it something else? I have to stop because you could be responding to something that I said. Marriage is work. I think it's work at times. Like for instance, when some things are changing, yeah, you got to work to adjust. Um, what's going
Yeah,
on?
like as we're evolving as individuals, and of course our marriage is going to be evolving, because we're evolving. There's a reflection there. I mean, I feel like marriage is the hardest. Marriage is like the most work when we are. I want to say in the beginning, like in the bit, like those you talk about, like those first 7 years.
Hmm.
Those first 7 years, it takes. What is the
So my theory is that it takes you a good 5, 7 years to really settle into a good marriage. I think that it takes time to really like find your groove and find yourself in a place where you're mostly happy and full of joy. I think those first few years can be
yeah.
very contentious or whatever word you would use to describe it. But the overall premise is that it takes you a while to settle into a good marriage.
Yeah, and I feel like you're taking two very, very, very different, typically very different individuals, and like our worlds collide, like we smash together. And in my opinion, there's nothing that can really prepare you for marriage. It's an experience, because you can get preparation through the counseling and through good examples and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that that's not valuable, because that's invaluable. Actually, it's priceless. But you gonna have to take all of what you've observed, all of what you've learned, and you're gonna have to now apply it. It's one thing to know how to be sacrificial. It's a whole nother thing to actually be sacrificial, especially when you are within your humanity, can be having all kind of issues with, what you're sacrificing for. As a person, um, being lovely right now, making it easy for you to sacrifice. Like I understood. Wives respect your husbands. It's like we're indoctrinated with that. So I understood I got to respect that, and I got to respect them. I got to respect them. And I didn't really know what that looked like. I didn't know what it sounded like. And so there was a lot of growth in me that had to occur. I didn't have any examples, throughout my life, not until I became an adult, of what it is to like belong to a man, being my dad. Um, I didn't have those experiences that relate to like how men are, what's typical for them. You know what I mean? Like their simplicity and things like that. Like I wasn't, I was not privy to it at all. You know what I mean? So I had a lot of growing to do as it relates to that. And that was a challenge. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to respecting my husband, what reference point do I have? Especially even as I observe, other people, I can understand what it may look like versus as it relates to like the fruit of it, the outward manifestation of what it looks like for a wife to be respecting her husband. But could that really be what it is? Because in some instances, she could really just be being a doormat. That's not necessarily
Mhm.
respect. Being submissive, that's not necessarily submission. You know what I mean? Like not really having all of the background stuff to help support what it actually is and what it actually looks like when it manifests, what that fruit actually tastes like. So I remember I was reading For Women Only by the Feldhans, For Men Only, For Women Only. They have the two books. And, that was the moment that I feel like God gave me the revelation of what it means to respect your husband. And that I understood in that moment, like, so I haven't been respecting my husband. I've just been not disrespecting him. And so then I had to start the go on the journey of what it looks like to respect him. And it started internally. You know what I mean? Like it started with I think my very first step was acceptance, like having to accept you because we're so different. We're literally like in not completely like, but we are like at the opposite ends of the spectrum. Introvert, extrovert, just go down a line, so I had to first start off with accepting you. And that helped also understand like why I was always like, why I had so many issues with him, because the things that were different, I saw as deficiencies. Like there were deficiencies, but just because he didn't function or think or process information or do anything the way that I do or did, what I mean? It didn't make sense to me. And it just was off. He was off. He was wrong. You know what I mean? Like it was hard because I didn't accept him for who he is and for how he was or is, but at the time how he was.
Room for growth, room for maturation, room for changing things and adjusting and so on and so forth. But if at your core, it's like you look at this person and it's like, why do you do that? You don't do it my way, so you must be wrong,
Yeah.
is a problem. You know what I
Right.
mean? And, it's like, if you, I feel like I'm going to definitely put in the comments or in the description the link we had about differences versus deficiencies, because I think it was a good chat. But one of the, uh, I guess I can't really think of any examples at the moment, but feeling accepted, what I mean, this idea of accepting who you're talking to, I think it even informs how you talk to the person. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
informs how you go to them with requests. It informs how often you make requests of them. You know what I mean? I think it just informs a whole bunch of things versus like when you don't accept them, then everything is a problem. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I got a problem. Like, why aren't you doing this? Like, what are you doing? Like,
Mhm.
yeah. So it really it hardens your heart towards that person,
Yeah.
and then like
Exactly.
love can't really flow because you're
Freely.
frustrated and
Yeah.
you're angry and you're confused and befuddled. It's like, dude, what is going on? Like one example I gave is for typically, and we paint with a lot of, I at least paint with a lot of broad strokes and generalities, but I feel like for the most part, so the silly example is that I made a post and shared a thought. A man is typically focused on what they're trying to do. Everything else around what they're trying to do is not important. So if I come home, I'm hungry, I want to eat. I don't want to eat and then put the things away and put the dishes up and then close the stuff. It's like I'm hungry. I
That's
want to eat. You know what I mean? Like when I got the food is gotten, I'm good. So now I'm kind of sitting in that satisfaction. And it's only till after that, maybe, that I'll get to the point where I clean up the mess that I made behind me. That is not necessarily an issue in our marriage right
anymore.
now, but it's just something that I
Baby.
understood. Like for example, I have and we had some conversations about this after work, because Della's a stay-at-home mom. After work, my goal was to get home. You know what I mean? And it's
Mhm.
like even now, my goal is to be home. So it's like going to get gas and stopping to get a slushie and so on and so forth. All of that stuff is just like it's not on my mind because my goal is to get home. You know what I mean? It's like when I used to catch the bus, I didn't want to miss the bus. You know what I mean? It's like I'm moving with purpose. And I feel like when you're moving with purpose towards a thing, all other things are irrelevant. They don't really matter in the moment. Like if you send me upstairs to get some, no, I'm not looking at the steps to see what needs to be brought upstairs.
He's like, he bringing up, this is good.
What?
All the stuff he bringing up. Which are issues for me? Which were issues for me? Until I got to the point where I could just accept him and how he is, which is different. Because in my mind, it's nothing to. I'm starving. But I'm going to close up the bread because it's not going to get stale. I'm going to put the stuff that's in the fridge that's supposed to be in the refrigerator. I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator because it's supposed to be cold. I don't want it to get lukewarm. Like, yeah, you drank juice because like you got the benefit of drinking like nice cold juice. And now I got to drink, partially lukewarm juice because you done left it out for the last 2 hours. You forgot to put it back. Like, no, that's not cool. That's very inconsiderate. Yeah.
So can you bring us some water?
Go ahead. You can take some water up for everybody.
So check this out. That's a really good point, Del. I used to think my husband was a procrastinator, but he is very analytical. And I now appreciate his slow decision making because his decisions are important.
And not only that, to add, like saying what I've been like, I mean, he is a procrastinator though. Like,
hey, you watch him now. Watch him now.
Like he is a procrastinator. But
I will put off what I'm deficient in. I don't put off things that I can accomplish. It's like if I don't know what I'm doing, if I don't have the tools to do the thing that I need to do, then it's like anything else. I feel like that's just people. You know what I mean? It's
that's
like,
just you.
No, it's the same thing with you in tech. It's like you don't necessarily hop up to figure out how to use the power station. You're not running
That's
to figure
true.
out how to reset the router and all of that stuff.
There's no need for that though. Like I'm like you procrastinate with everything. Now,
also, I don't want to get taken advantage of. So, like right now, we need tires on our gray car, and it's just like, man, I could go and deal with the people that I found, but it's like I don't want to get played. Money is not abundant. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm slow walking that. You know what I mean? And I am.
But versus like me, like I get things done. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's the.
But you will also get your head beat in. Possibly.
I could, but I could also just get the task done and not get my head beat in.
That's it's a flip of the coin. It could go either way.
Because it has happened plenty of times. What was the thing that happened where it was taking you months and months and the roof? We needed our roof repaired. Like months and months, whole new season and changed. And I was like, babe, can I please have this task? And it was like, okay, cool. And it's not that he wasn't trying to, what I mean? He just
I'm slow.
And so
I am.
I feel like that if it wasn't that day, it was within 2 days, somebody was out here fixing our roof. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like pull the trigger, like just get it done. It doesn't, sometimes I feel like it doesn't take all that. It doesn't take all that thought. It doesn't take all that analyzing. It doesn't take all, you know what I mean? But I've come to appreciate like how thorough and precise and how pointed and well thought out, you know what I mean, Ivan is when he does finally execute on something. So like, yeah, Ab, to your point, like, you know what I mean? Like, for instance, whenever we're doing something together, like I think we were moving a couch, bringing either upstairs or downstairs. I'm like, let's just get it done. Like, I'm ready to just brute force, like just squeeze it. Okay, let's turn it. Then okay, that didn't work. Then let's turn it. Like, I'm ready. I just want to do it. Whereas Ivan, like, he literally was standing like on the wall, like plotting and thinking and analyzing what angles and how to do it, how to be able to do it efficiently. Like he is definitely measure twice, maybe even 3 times and cut once.
I don't like doing things over. I don't got time for that, man. I don't like it. I want to do it, and I want to do it right the first time, which is another thing that contributes to procrastination. You know what I mean? I like to say I'm a recovery perfectionist. So it's just like, I want to do it once. I'm not doing it multiple times. I remember being in like my little file room job, and it's just like, all right, I'm going to move these files. I'm not moving these files again. You know what I mean? It's like, until this next season is appropriate, I'm going to do it right, and we're going to do it once, and then that's going to be done. Thug life.
Yeah. I mean, that again, like I had to get to the point first where I accepted Ivan just for who he is and for how he is, for how he thinks, how he gets down. Because at that point was am I able to really respect him? Like in my heart, like that's where it had to start. It had to start first in my heart, like respecting like how he thinks and how he processes information. And I had to get like I had to understand it, not so that it can be something that I can do for me, but just so that I can understand him and how he get down. And then I was able to start valuing him. Yeah, I mean, I was able to start like really seeing you, and then having an appreciation for how he does things. Like, okay, that's not how I would do it, and that's fine. Like he ain't me. Like he ain't me.
Struggle. It still rears its ugly head every now and then. I'm just like, babe, I'm not you. I don't think like you. I feel like you want me to think like you in this situation. It's just like I don't think that way.
And vice versa.
How so?
How many times have you been like having to
yeah, no doubt. But I don't get angry with you though. That's the problem with y'all. Y'all get angry with us because we don't think like y'all. But it's like we look at y'all and we know y'all are different. You know what I mean? We come to the table understanding that y'all are different. Sure, we are less. We can be less accepting. You know what I mean, of y'all differences. But for the most part, it's like we get it. Uh-oh. For example,
wait, what'd you say? I missed it. Sorry.
Mark Driscoll. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I was just talking about the differences. You know what I mean? It's like we're more accepting of your differences.
You know what? And I feel like that's why we are commanded to respect our husbands, because it's not natural for us to see all the way. Like it takes nothing for us to love y'all, though. You know what I mean? Whereas y'all are commanded to love us because it's not something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's
like y'all are easily able. It's more easy for y'all to accept us because like respect, acceptance, like seeing us for where we are, and like y'all are okay with us. Like there's no need for improvement. You know what I mean? Like how you say, like when I chose you.
Right.
You know, that's all. That's it, as I like to say. You know, and it's like for me, like, yeah, when I chose you, but that ain't on. That's not what's it.
You gotta take a moment for these comments.
Okay.
So I just said.
What?
We don't have eyes. We don't see nothing. We don't see no messes. We don't see the toys. We don't see the clothes. We don't care because it's mission first. It's
I hate that.
If I go into the bathroom because I need to pee, I don't care that the boxers are on the floor. I need to pee. And when I'm done peeing, I'm going back to whatever I was doing. If it was laying down or whatever, I'm not going to stop that to pick up clothes. But what I will say is what I've had to do to myself. What I've had to do to myself is to say, okay, you got to think like Dell. Look at the situation, how Dell would look at it. So now when I walk up the steps, sometimes I see stuff on the floor and I'm like, what would Dell do? She would pick this up. So let me pick it up and bring it upstairs.
When was the last time you picked something up from the steps?
I don't think you would notice if I did. It's just the absence of something that annoys you. It's not the appreciation for the stair rail being clean.
You have a little bit of a point, but
I'm gonna struggle with your name. You told me, I think you said it's
Ed.
Kadara.
Unless you want us to
yes, that's what I'm talking about, man. She ain't coming here as Ed, and you calling her Ed.
My bad. See, that's why I like my community.
Oh, okay.
Wait. I saw the pronunciation.
Yeah, it's up there.
Well, what is it?
Kadara.
Oh, okay. Oh, sexy.
Hey.
Kadara.
What she said was, I think she said, Ivan is literally like my husband. It's amazing witnessing this.
And we talk about that. Like we talk about that.
Oh, she said Ebony is fine. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Men and women are different. The sooner we realize this, the better the relationship. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact for sure.
Yeah.
Like, for example, because I know Dell is kind of like pull the trigger, like I'll have to, and not I have to, but I choose to, or I come to the situation softer. like, babe, can you like, let's just slow down for a second, because I know her thing is to go, you know what I mean, and versus being like frustrated, like, would you slow down a second, like, what are you doing? You messed this up last time. It's like it's a different posture of your heart towards your spouse when you understand them. And I just feel like men are better at understanding their spouses. Just
no, y'all are better at accepting us.
okay, same thing.
No,
that's what I mean. Like,
okay, y'all are better
accepting
at
y'all being different.
Yeah,
It may not manifest in frustration, but I do feel like Del was saying, it's like when I didn't choose to marry you because I wanted a different version of you.
right.
And it's like y'all will go along with marrying us, but you gotta keep grinding,
because
growing.
That's how I feel. Because it was like you ain't arrived. You know what I mean? Like this is a journey. You know, sometimes we marry potential. So I saw your potential, and you had all the other things that were necessary too for me to give you my hand in marriage. But that potential, we got to work that out. We got to start bringing that up. We got to start, getting that potential to come up. And I think that's part of our purpose, as wives, our wifely influence. Like a lot of times, I've heard a lot of husbands, just speak so candidly and like so lovingly about how they wouldn't be who they are if it wasn't for their wives. And it's vice versa, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be the woman I am because, without you. But I think it's more so, the other way around.
I agree. I do. I wonder how that plays out in other like cultures and stuff like that. Like if Iranians or Iraqians or these like very like patriarchal societies, if those men have this stuff more together because they have a responsibility kind of ingrained in them. Or maybe Iran and Iraq is not a good example, but I'm just trying to think about these very like male driven societies versus like the Black community and culture is very matriarchal because of the absence of the patriarch,
for so long.
For gap, it was wholesome before, integration and all that jazz, but then we had those challenges that kind of took men, or men opted to like opt out of the situation. So but anyway,
all of the remnants of of course slavery and whatnot, like that's the beginning of it,
True. What I mean? So there's a question here. I'm gonna read it over here. Del, how often do you tell Ivan that you appreciate him and what he brings to the table? You may have said this already, but I came in late.
How often? You know what? It's not often.
Because you don't appreciate me, bum. How dare you? Let me get some appreciation.
You know what it is? It's not as often as it should be. And it's moments like this where I feel like noted, you know what I mean? Because I do, like, there's been plenty of times where, I'll have a moment where I'll be appreciating it for me. And I'll be like, hey babe, you know what? And it'll be kind of like an out my head moment, where I'll share with him, I appreciate you being all of the different things, depending on what it was that I was thinking about, like him being the breadwinner, and
my man Mose, what's happening, brother? Good to see you.
Oh, sweet.
Mose is one of my favorite people from YouTube as well.
Yeah.
I really miss their family content, but he knew, much like many of us knew, that most people don't care about family content. So
but yeah, I could definitely do it more. So thank you for that. But yeah, I don't really speak often about, what he brings to the table. I think if I speak anything about like what I appreciate, it's
what?
Like if there's anything that I speak appreciation for on a regular basis, it's sex. You know what I mean? It's the satisfaction and the fulfillment that I get from sex. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm sure he don't mind that, right?
Hey, I don't at all. It's
but
good to know.
I could do more of, I could do more speaking all the love languages. But the thing that I have to work on is his primary love language, which is physical touch. You know what I mean? Like having to be more, conscious of touching him all throughout the day. You know what I mean? And I noticed the difference in him. You know what I mean? Like he'll often say, I appreciate, I'll just come sit on his lap or rub on him, or, and passing by, rub my hands across his chest or his back or whatever the case. And like that really, it really does something to him, because serving him is easy for me because that's my love language, so I need to be, I feel like I still need to be better and more consistent at showering him with physical touch. But affirming him and expressing my appreciation for all that you are and all that you bring to the table. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
To answer the question for me, I think it's maybe it's a variable in expressing my appreciation, because I don't feel like I do it enough. So I agree, basically the same here. All right, giggles. I don't do it nearly as much as I should. I don't think I do it even as much as she does it. So I'm sorry for that, because I don't share it enough. I don't feel like I do it enough.
Yeah, I feel like, but there are times where I guess it's yeah. I notice it. Adele. It's like we're talking, so she needs to be a part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. So those are my answers. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So many things, like I feel like just in that last few minutes are subjects that we can talk on, and all that jazz. Like I want to talk about the 5 love languages, and the thumbnail is going to be the 5 love languages are a scam. I don't feel that way, but it's just like it's a whole hustle.
What you mean?
I just feel like acts of service, which is Dell's primary
Because
joint.
he don't be wanting to do stuff. That's why.
Acts of service is a scam.
Stop, Adele. Stop.
It's a scam.
It's not.
Like, if acts of service is your love language, I think it's one of the. Let me just say, I think it's one of the hardest love languages to implement. But it could be just for you. But that's a whole thing we need to talk about. You know what I mean?
I think it would be different if our dynamic was different. Like if I was a working mom, I think it would be different. It would be different.
I don't know, man. It's like, I don't know. I feel like let's
so
talk about that.
basically, he's struggling with speaking my love language on a regular and consistent basis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because anyway, what's the next thing we talk about?
No, because what?
I want to talk about that in a different conversation. I want to
Okay.
have that be a whole thing unto itself,
Okay.
or a segment unto itself.
Oh, I wanted to talk about expectations versus needs versus desires. Or we can get into
I feel like
differences versus deficiencies.
these are videos we need to make on these subject
Yeah,
matters.
but we can still touch on it. This is casual, we just chilling, right?
I guess. I feel like what you want to speak on as it relates to expectations versus needs versus desires.
Well, that was a part of Is Marriage Hard? I mean,
Okay.
the idea of is marriage hard? And I think the work that's necessary in order to have a healthy and thriving marriage. I feel like, at least from, what was the name of the video, the DVD that we had? I Marriage. Like things again shifted in our marriage once we understood the difference between expectations versus desires. Because I had a lot of expectations and I placed my expectations on Ivan, and you know what I mean? And I communicated as such too. It wasn't about like what I would like and what I desire. There was no softness, behind it.
Let me qualify that a bit. So Andy Stanley has a series called I Marriage, which was given to us by Nicole. So shout out to you, Nicole. That's how we first got exposed. Little Nikki.
Yeah. I was about to say her whole name.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for not doing that. Putting people on blast.
But it was a gift, and she was, it was a great gift.
Because I'm privacy oriented, I don't like putting people's information out there by default. Nobody. Anyway. So the idea that Andy Stanley expressed with this thing about expectations is like, what does this person owe me? And it's like when you start from the place of what your spouse owes you, then there can be really no real appreciation for the thing that they do for you, because it's like, you owe this to me. You owe me
Yeah.
sex. You owe me provision. You owe me protection. Thank you for doing your job. Get out of my face. You know what I mean? It's like there's no real like appreciation that can go for it. And he actually had an idea that when expectations enter into your marriage, he was like, love just dies. It can no longer live there as it continues to like progress or whatever. So expectations versus desires, which are things that you share that you would like your spouse to do.
Man, listening to that recap, I feel like I need to
You always need to always, because expectations run deep in this one over here. They run deep.
I do have very high expectations. I have very high standards, you know. Yeah. But I just appreciate the idea of, because when you have expectations, then that it just kind of causes appreciation to dissipate, or even just the opportunity to have an appreciation for anything your spouse does. You know, whether it's kind of like
No, mama.
To Eb's point.
Come back.
That's not even her pizza. That's Saya's pizza.
You were saying to Eb's point.
Yeah, even to, what was I saying? To Eb's point. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. My bad.
Desires, expectations. Eb's point. What was Eb's point about her husband? Choices.
About like often, like telling you, yeah, that was my point. About how often do I express to you my appreciation for what you bring to the table? It's kind of like, you know, do I have this expectation that you're going to go to work and provide for, you know, your family? And it's like, yeah, there is this expectation, but you know, that expectation can breed lack of, you know, appreciation.
Absolutely.
You know,
I have moments where I don't feel appreciated.
Really?
Yeah. I do. I feel like because I'm solid in that regard, it's something you come to just expect.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You know what I mean?
True.
I get it, but the appreciation doesn't really go forth.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I think it's in some instances, it reveals itself in comparison. When you start to compare my work day versus what you have to do and all that jazz. And it makes me feel like, well, you don't really appreciate this grind, because I mean, it's, you know, I enjoy my job and it's cool and all that jazz, but it's still work.
Yeah, because I do look at it differently. I do look at it as, it's not like this job that, you know, you just don't really want to go to and you're not, you know, good at it. You know what I mean? Or you don't get any type of, you know, you're not, you know, there's like a lot of different things that you get from doing what you do. You know, it's a part of, you know, you've always been into tech, and you know what I mean? So it's like, it's fulfilling in so many different ways. And it's like, when I'm comparing it to me and my life as a stay-at-home mom, and, you know, just everything that comes with being with all these kids that are young and dependent, and you know what I mean? It's just like, so yeah, but I don't know if it's because of and I had to think about it, whether or not it's a lack of appreciation because of the expectation.
Excuse me.
Or if it's
like something else.
Like I wonder, like, do I value it? Because it's just it's something that needs to get done. You know what I mean? It's something that needs to be done. Like, it just, you know, it just is what it is. And even though that's the case, shouldn't I still be appreciative though? Shouldn't I still be like, you know, I mean, I do value it, but is it like maybe my lack of expression, or is it whenever we're beefing about, you know?
I guess I just feel like I said, one thing is the comparison, because it's like, because I happen to be so blessed by our Father above that the job that I have it's enjoyable, it has its challenges, but it's not something that I kind of slug into, and you know, I don't
be looking forward to.
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, it's cool. You know what I mean? It's like my job is fine. I feel like pretty much a lot of my jobs have been fine.
Yeah,
they can reach a point where
they're in IT.
So to have, it feels like the situation is kind of made light of because I enjoy what I do, and it's not like
Yeah, I can see
stressful,
that.
and it's just like, well, what you tired for? And I'm like, whether I enjoy something or not, I was still working. You know what I mean? Like I was working. I wasn't just out laying in a hammock. You know what I mean? Chilling, watching Netflix.
But you know, he does multitask at his job too. You know what I mean?
As
So
like, who doesn't multitask? Like, who has a career, right? Who doesn't multitask at their job? You know what I mean? Who doesn't listen to a YouTube video or, you know, be on Facebook for a little bit or get a chance to walk away and stretch their legs and, you know, take a 10-minute, you know, whatever, you know what I
chat
mean?
and talk with their
Yeah, it's
coworkers.
like that's life. Yeah, but I feel like sometimes she looks at me like, you ain't even really, and I'm just like, fam, what is the
I do think that sometimes, like, I be feeling
go ahead, you be feeling like
you be like chilling, like chilling. And I be, and you brought it to my attention because I'll be talking about like all the things that I'm having to do and like how draining it is, you know what I mean, with just constant kids and stuff.
Adele. I feel like nah, she can't have the pizza.
No, she's fine.
She's playing with it at this point. She's not eating it.
I think she's gonna eat.
What was your
Yeah, see,
point?
she's eating.
I'm
Dang.
sure you lost it.
Yeah. What was I talking about?
I'm not exactly sure. What was she talking about, y'all? I don't know. What did Adele just say? Where was she going? Help us out here.
Oh, you know, just like because of how it comes off as you just be chilling, like you're working, yeah, but you're also watching, you know, YouTube videos and you're also on Facebook, and it's what you do. Like you would do these very things, sit at your desk, be at a computer, doing tinkering and all this other stuff. Like you would be doing it if you weren't being paid for it. I guess women like having boundaries. Yeah.
That right there,
Is there
man.
a
That's how the people be in the video, like they just be listening to somebody talk, pointing, like, yeah, what he said. Like, shut up, just play the video. Get your face out of the screen,
That
weirdo.
is so true. That is so true.
That's extremely true.
That's true.
That's very. It's like, listen, I had a post on Facebook.
Thank you, Sean.
Where I said, I wonder if when women get old, they'll find themselves saying, like, man, I wish I would have cleaned more. I wish I would have like cleaned the house. Like my house was a mess. You know what I mean? It's like y'all are so hyper focused on the order of the house and the dishes being put away and all of this stuff in my mind that's just silly. You know what I mean?
There has to just be balance because, you know, leave it up to him.
I agree.
You
No
know, the house has to be
there.
maintained and whatnot. Oh, yeah, true. The point that I was going to make was like whenever we were going back and forth about, you know, just work and how, like I was saying, like you would be doing all of the things that you're getting paid for if you weren't getting paid. You would be at your computer, you would be chilling, you would be tinkering and, you know, doing all the things you're doing, watching YouTube and Facebook and doing all those things. But you know, and when I was talking about like comparing you to what I do, you know, as it relates to being a stay-at-home mom and whatnot, I had to appreciate after the fact because it wasn't in the moment. When you were like, yeah, but you know, you get to take a nap.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah.
Insert Bill Burr joke about mothering being the hardest job in America. He did that joke fairly well. He misappropriated some things. But.
Yeah, but you know, it's like there are moments where like if I want to just chill, I can.
You have pros. It was like you could get in the car and just go get some food. You know what I mean? Like you could take the kids to the park. Yeah. You have the freedom to go for a stroll. You know what I mean?
But not alone though. Like again, there are like many variables. So I think the lesson that what I'm pulling from this moment is like there is no comparison. Didn't somebody just say that? There is no comparison.
I don't know.
Oh, Char was talking about compromise.
Okay.
I was thinking comparison, but come on, what?
She's sleepy. That's what
time is it? Oh, well, go take a nap. She was laying in the bed. But you know, like what I need to do basically just stop comparing. You know, just stop comparing what he does to what I do, because there are pros and cons to both of those. There are ups and downs, and the ebb and flow to both of those situations. Like you can get tired of either of those situations. So it's just like we complement each other, and to like live in that space of complimenting each other and being okay with that. And I feel like I usually am, but perhaps I need to do a little bit more of it. Where'd my phone go?
Right here.
Okay. So I know that'll be like a whole different, video. And there's a couple other points in here too, but differences versus deficiencies. I think that's a whole video, so we could like really dive into it. But I think it kind of goes back to accepting you and seeing that just because you're different from me doesn't mean you're deficient. Like you can be deficient wherever you're deficient, but just because you rock different than I do, don't mean you're deficient.
Just to quantify an example of differences versus deficiencies, like I have a very poor sense of direction, and that's a whole thing. Watch the video of differences versus deficiencies.
We'll make a new one.
But Dell has a very good sense of direction, but I can read a map very well, and she can't do that to save her life. She get lost. So what I mean? It's just like she very early on in our marriage, she gave me a hard time about that. Like
I literally looked at him like, what is wrong with him? Like, how can you not tell? Like, how can you not feel, your way back the way we came? I mean, like, how can you not? Were you? I used to like gripe a lot. Like, were you not paying attention? Like, you sitting in the car with and I remember like pushing you into the driver's seat. I was like, I'm not driving, you drive, because I feel like he was. I was going to make him. I was going to make him.
And we lived in DC in the beginning of our marriage. I don't know if you've been to DC, but pull up a freaking map of DC. It's a freaking mess.
Like the District of Columbia.
It's a mess. Like there's like streets crisscrossing each other, and it's like one corner could be like one building, and you got to turn, and there's roundabouts, and it's a whole lot to navigate in DC driving around the district. Not like Maryland, Silver Spring. I mean, like we lived in DC, Northeast.
Yeah. But I felt like you need to learn. You need to figure it out, because you can't be just being lost. You know what I mean? I want to say like I probably lost respect for you for not having a good sense of direction.
I'm sure you did. I know, probably.
And we were taking I don't know if it was a class or it was a seminar or
it's like a little class.
Okay. When we were in DC, when Greater Mount Calvary, I think he's a bishop now, Bishop Cedric Brown and Lady Bobette Brown. And they were, talking, it was all about marriage. And so they were just going, sharing all that stuff like that. And so there came a point where like they were, Bishop Brown started talking about how he doesn't have a good sense of direction and like how he just sucks at it. And it was at that point that because I really, really loved, Bishop Brown, and like really had a good, healthy respect for him and, his family and his wife and whatnot.
Okay.
So for somebody like him to be like, yeah, I don't have no sense of direction, I was just like, huh.
And it goes back to like, understanding the differences in relationships and having those things be presented to you in some capacity. Because otherwise, if you're not exposed to any other relationships and marriages and how they've grown and how they've accepted each other, then you have this idea that you out here. And that's another thing, that's another reason why we want to do the podcast, because we don't want people to think that they're alone in dealing with these challenges. You know what I mean? I have really grown to have like a heart for marriages and wanting those things to last. I remember when Dell would hit me up and be like, yeah, so-and-so is getting divorced. I'd be like, so? People get divorced. It happens. You know what I mean? But when you start to think about the impacts and the lineage and the children and how that, it's just like, man, it's tough.
I was always saddened by it.
Yeah.
I was always like, I just feel like y'all can work it out. You know what I mean? But
And it's mainly the idea that a lot of times people suffer in silence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to. I had this thought. It's like, yeah, you smiling on the Instagram and Facebook pictures all the way to divorce court. You know what I mean? It's like just pretending like things are good, things are fine, all is well. When you like really struggling, you know what I mean? That feels so unfortunate to not have a situation where like if you just talk to somebody,
Or even if it's not necessarily pretending, but I feel like in some instances they're suffering and they're struggling, and they see the direction that their marriage is going, and it's like they just are just stagnant. Like they're not pretending and putting forth, a show, but they're also trying to like preserve their overall image, and not in the worst way, but just trying to preserve, I guess, the dignity of their.
maybe some people I feel like it's image preservation, and for some people
Yeah.
they're just trying to hold on to.
Yeah, they're trying to
Yeah, I
hold on
get
to
it.
what they have.
I get
You
it.
know what I mean? Still, and it's, yeah, that's suffering in silence. Because I know that's one of the main things that's probably one of the reasons why I am so transparent and so direct and so just so much of an open book, because those are the ways in which I was broken free from the different ways that I was bound. You know what I mean? Somebody would share and express what they were dealing with, what they were going through, what they were thinking, what they had experienced. And it was just like, oh, you know what I mean? Like to be able to relate, to be relatable in those various ways, like was, breaking me free. I mean, granted, it was the move of the Holy Spirit.
I
Go
don't know,
ahead.
man. You know how to work Netflix?
Yeah, you can. He's asking if you can.
Oh, I thought he says, are there
Oh.
more episodes?
Well,
So, do you want to keep going? Because
No, I
Saya
feel
uses
like-
butt wipe.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
You can go do that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, no, I'll do it because I don't know how to shut things down. It's kids are like popping up. Hold on.
So, on that note, thank you guys for joining us. This
Wait,
is what.
That's it.
Yeah, just shut it down.
Thanks for joining us, y'all. Thanks for
Oh,
hanging
now
out
you
with
shut
us.
it down.
No, I mean, I'm just saying. Thanks for hanging out. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna try and get past my hurdles so that we can do this more regularly. Tell Saya we're coming. Okay. Tell him mommy's coming. Hurry up. We're gonna do this more regularly, be more consistent, and really just dive in because this is what it is. And
Please stay on the lookout for the official First Comes Marriage channel, because it won't necessarily live here. We may have another live or two on this channel, but this channel is about our family existence, and that thing will be about marriage,
which we got to get back to too.
Right. And then we also have our live stream channel where we're just like shoot the breeze and talk and chat and stuff like that and hang out about more casual topics.
True.
Which is TRR Live.
Like we missed a couple of comments, but you're welcome, man.
I caught them for the most part.
Oh, well, you ain't saying nothing.
We missed a whole lot.
Well, I did. I'm gonna have to go back, but thank you guys. I gotta go wipe a butt.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Y'all be beautiful. God bless you. Good night.